community partnership. And now it's serious, we're being recorded. Okay, so at the end of phase one, all grantees will have a finalized outcomes-driven action plan. And then you can see, as you know, that you've all turned in a budget for $10,000. And the purpose of this action plan then will be to implement a campus community project promoting behavioral health and mental wellness. Phase two is a continuation, and in the next couple of slides, I will show you what that means. But the overall summary of phase two is you will receive feedback on your submitted action plans. Then those plans will be approved. And after that time, funds will be dispersed and you may begin implementation. So during this time, and again, I will go over this on a few slides, you will be given a coach, which is part of the Ohio Coaching and Mentoring Network. And this prevention expert that works all across the state on several projects will assist you in giving you technical assistance and networking opportunities. And then there will be some reporting on outcomes and successes. You could do the next slide, please. So the time frame for this is 1 year total for phase one and phase two. Right now, we will go through February of 22, and then there will be a process for feedback and approval of your implementation plans, which will take you into that second phase, which is March through September of 22. Next slide, please. What Julie and I have been working on over the past couple weeks since the announcements were made, as well as we will look forward to working on continually, is the funding opportunity. So as you participate in the planning process, you will be asked to look at this phase as an opportunity to make these partnerships visible and then look at your budget and expend those funds accordingly. So for example, some of your funds or all of your funds, or however you've laid out your budget, the intent is to promote the campus community partnerships across campus and through the community partnerships. So this could look like marketing or branding of activities. Those activities can be encouraged to build health awareness within the campus and the community. And these are also could be centered around the national health observances. So as you know, specific months in the year are dedicated to suicide awareness or some different other national health observance, mental health month. All of these things are laid out very nicely on different websites, so we can give you some ideas for that. But we also have what you submitted as ideas as well. These are just examples. So what these activities could do is demonstrate to the campus and the community that the partnership is present and actively engaged. So right now, the way we've designed it is you will receive $5,000 up front and then $5,000 at the end. And throughout the next throughout this week, Julie and I will be reaching out to the campus community partnership leads, as well as if this is the good time to bring in your fiscal lead as well. And we will just have a one-on-one 30-minute conversation about how to receive these funds. What does that look like? The most important thing is I know that as all of you were applying, there was a lot of questions on the assurances within the application. So we will definitely, as promised, we would take a look at it when the time came. So we're here and Julie and I will be reaching out to you. Next slide, please. So for phase one, some of the requirements for this very important time frame are 5 monthly virtual learning community meetings. So in case you didn't realize, you are right now in a virtual learning community. So woohoo, you already did one. So there will be several laid out. Those are designed by Dr. Raffel and Dr. Corser and their teams, and be very informative and a very team-oriented facilitation team, as long as yourself and your community partners. There will be some opportunity for homework to be completed in between sessions, and that is just a really nice way for you to stay engaged and really communicating with us and those in your community. Additionally, we have laid out what we call monthly webinars. Those again are 90 minutes. And each of those are designed to bring participants with innovative ideas and best practices from institutes of higher ed across the country. So in your application, those webinar dates were laid out. The first one is October 13th. And Julie can forward and send what the Prevention Action Alliance laid out today through the Ohio College Initiative. And they sent out a really nice email early this morning promoting this event. So these webinars will be from now until the end of the project and will be geared towards really taking the opportunity to educate yourself and your community partners on external practices to maybe not even what's going on in Ohio, but to bring those ideas to our state. We will also take time in this process to ask questions of you as subrecipients to see what you need. You know, a lot of our activities this morning on Padlet looked at, you know, how is this changing? How has the landscape already changed since you applied for the application? So we want to be able to keep up with that and really provide technical assistance to you through these webinars. So that's why we've engaged 3 of the top organizations in the state that are very familiar with higher education. And you'll be hearing from them on those webinars and potentially sometimes during these learning communities. Next slide, please. Dr. Corso will go over a little bit more, especially of the deliverable 1 in his slides, but this is a quick glance, an opportunity for you to use your calendar. A lot of you said calendaring was a good way for you to stay on track. So this is a great way to just put these right on your calendar. And as you can see, this is the very first thing is the initial roster of your campus community partnerships due by October 15th at 5 p.m. And then I won't read you these deliverables because you do have access to them, but you can kind of see about once a month, obviously skipping skipping December, that we will, this is your opportunity for this homework in between. So around the time that each of the learning communities take place, you'll see that something is due around that time. Next slide, please. Phase 2, implementing activities. And so again, this is the back half of the project, March through September. What's different about this phase is that there will be an opportunity, as I mentioned, for an Ohio Prevention Certified Specialist to work with each of you in your communities. So you will be given 5 monthly coaching sessions. And I would be remiss if I did not introduce my colleague and staff member, Alicia Longmire, is on this call. Give him a wave, hey. And Alicia is in charge of the Ohio Coaching and Mentoring Network. So her and Julie will be working together to provide each of you with a coach. And they do not have whistles. This is a coach in the sense that they are mentors. They will guide you through potentially your data to look at what, you know, strategies or activities match best with what you're seeing on your campus. So there will be 5 monthly coaching sessions, and they will actually, you know, be able to walk you through what your needs are in these last 6 months of that project or phase 2. Again, we will continue with the monthly webinars, and then we're super excited to have an end of grant celebration event. If this cannot be held in person, then we will certainly do something over Zoom to celebrate our successes as part of this project. You can see at the bottom that in addition to, in addition to the required activities, Dr. Raffel and her team, as well as our team, the whole team, anybody you want to talk to, is available for technical assistance. So those are, will be weekly, and this is a good crowd to know what office hours means. So that's kind of what we equate that to, is weekly office hours when someone can be available if you have questions on the project. Next slide, please. So the final template report will be due on September 17th of 2022. And as we know how time flies, that will come way sooner than we want it to, but it will be there September 17th at 5 p.m. will be the final report template for phase 2. And obviously information will be coming on that. Will be coming soon, some point. By the end of the project, you will have that. It is to be determined at this point, but we can promise you that there will be one. So before we transition to Dr. Corser and his overview of deliverable 1, what questions can I answer for you? Covered it all so magnificently. Matt, I would like to now transition it over to you, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being part of this learning community. And thank you so much. I can't tell you how excited I am to work with all of you over the next few months as we work together to build a plan to sort of guide all of our work. As we've I think talked about so far, over the next few months, we're going to work together as campus community partnerships and as this learning community to develop that plan. And really, in developing that plan, we're going to set the stage to help support our students, our campus communities, and sort of our larger communities as well. And that's really we've talked a lot about that, but that's the most exciting and most important part of the work that we're going to do today. Next slide. So I'm going to do a bit of an overview on deliverables to start with, talking about them generally. Then we'll talk a little bit about that first deliverable as well. One of the reasons that we've sort of built out monthly deliverables is that as we work towards that plan, we'll scaffold it together. We'll build that out. We'll look at what that process looks like. And by breaking it into these monthly deliverables, essentially we're going to take on parts of that in ways that are manageable in the time that we have. And it also recognizes, I think, the unique challenges that all of you face. Working to support your campus community, working to, in some cases, keep classes going, amid some of the challenges that we have with the pandemic. It's not an easy environment to be doing this work. And it's one of the reasons we really do want to make sure that we've broken it down into some chunks. After each learning community meeting, shortly after, usually within a day or so, we will get the deliverables posted up. And they will go on the suicideprevention.ohio.gov website at the link that's in your slide deck. And each of those deliverables is going to have 3 components. First is we're going to ask you to put together a team to develop that deliverable. You may find that team is the same across those deliverables. You may find that team evolves, that it changes to really meet the needs of the work at hand. And then also a reflection form. And that's really just an opportunity for you and your team to think about sort of what was learned, what went well, key takeaways from the process of working through that step. Next slide. We've talked a lot about the fact that we'll operate as a team, and there really are a ton of reasons why that's important, even in normal times, and even more important now as we navigate the pandemic. The idea is that we are going to, in a very limited time, build out a plan. And that means that there really will be a lot of work. We're going to absolutely do our best to make that as manageable as possible, but it actually the team is going to help us get through the work. It's going to help us build that plan. The other thing as well is that, we're talking about campus community partnerships. And, I think this plan gives us a great why to engage new folks and to re-engage others who maybe we haven't heard from as much or as much as we'd like to hear from. It's an opportunity to engage, to build trust. Even more important is that after we get through this planning phase, as Nicole mentioned, phase 2 really focuses on implementation. And this team approach is actually going to help build that capacity, and that'll support implementation and really help make that successful as well. And a couple other reasons I think that are really important here. The idea is that we want this partnership to be sustainable. And, oftentimes, and this is certainly true with my work, and I've seen it in lots of different contexts where as we're engaged, we oftentimes have a spark plug individual, someone who really pulls it all together, who can help lead us through that process. And some of the challenges we sometimes see is if that person moves on, it's hard sometimes to keep our momentum going or to get it back. And so as we build a team, as we empower that team, as we build our capacity, we're going to help make sure that our partnerships really are sustainable through the course of this project and well beyond. And I think it also goes without saying that, in one sense, we're stronger together. The idea we all bring different experiences, different knowledge, different attitudes to the work, and that makes it richer. Next slide. So our first deliverable is going to be a roster of campus and community partners. And we're going to work through this deliverable with a six-step process. I don't know about you, but on a Monday morning, when I see a six-step process, I usually start to panic. And I'm going to tell you that these 6 steps, even though it's chunked into 6 steps, they're fairly fairly easy to work through. The first is, when that deliverable guidance and the materials come out, to really take some time to look at the materials, to look at the guidance, to look at the cheat sheets that comes with it, to look at the tasks. Really spend some time, on reflecting on that. Oftentimes, it's at least for me, my first read usually can be that, wow, this is a lot. But if I reflect on it, I realize that it's absolutely doable. We are then that second step, to actually build out a team to do the deliverable. It may well be the whole team that was named in your grant. It may be a subset of those folks. It may be different people. And the other thing I'm going to say too is that the team that helps you with this deliverable and it works together, it may not be your forever team. It also may be that you get some partway through this deliverable and add people to it. That's absolutely fine. The team is just there to support the partnership, to help it move forward. You'll go ahead and complete a team form, just talking about sort of who was involved in creating this deliverable. As part of deliverable 1, there's going to be a very short 5-page article on the principles of partnership. It is an accessible read, so it should not take a ton of time to review. But your third step will be to take a look at that article. Then in step 4, you and your deliverable team will think about partners and their roles, and you'll actually complete a roster of those potential partners. You'll, in step 5, reflect on that process and consider your next steps and complete that reflection form. And then the last step is actually submitting things. And there's essentially 3 things that will come together: a team form, a roster, and then also that reflection form. And as you build out your campus community partners, just to make it very clear, I think it's probably the case that in a lot of cases you may find that roster may evolve and change, and that's absolutely okay. It may expand. So as you work through this deliverable, just know that roster does not have to be your forever your forever roster that is essentially etched into a brass plaque. It's a starting point, and you would have the ability to edit that, to change it, to expand it as you need to. And as we mentioned, all your deliverable 1 materials are going to be on the Rise and Thrive website this week. We'll also send you an email letting you know when those have been posted up there. But that link at the bottom of the slide is actually going to be an important one. And the other thing too is if you do lose that long link, if you just go to suicideprevention.ohio.gov, you'll be able to springboard through the menus to it. Okay, next slide. So this was a really quick overview of that first deliverable. And I want to ask, actually, before we transition to the supports that we have, if there are any questions, and you can either unmute or you can go ahead and put those in the chat box, whatever you're most comfortable with.
Becky, I see you have your hand raised. Go ahead and unmute.
It is potential partners, yes. Yep. Great. Other questions at all? All right. If questions come up, either during this webinar or after, please do reach out. I'm going to turn it over now to Julie, and she's going to talk through ways to seek support. So thank you all, and I'm really grateful to be working with you on this initiative.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. I will send us out for the last 10 minutes and talk to you guys a little bit about how you can seek support if you need it. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you take a look at page 2 on your agenda today, you'll be able to see some of those resources that are available to you. So first of all, there is the Rise and Thrive initiative website. So this will be your one-stop shop for all the materials that are related to phase 1. Our deliverable templates will be there. And if you'll bookmark this page, that will provide easy access to you. We will let you know when that phase 1 activity 1 is posted, and it will be sometime this week. Next, if you need a little bit of professional development in some bite-sized pieces, there are some videos. And again, that website is listed on page 2 of your agenda, and all those videos are 10 minutes or less. And finally, as we have referred to throughout, please access the Rise and Thrive Google Drive for all the project's needs. Next slide. Okay, you are not alone in this. Although we are on Zoom and we wish we were together, the biggest resource that you guys have is each other. So please use that contact list in the Google Drive to send one of your colleagues an email or a question if needed to. Sometimes those multiple perspectives are helpful. Also, if you're feeling like you're stuck or you have additional questions, there are 2 options. So the first one will be drop-in calls. And if you'll be checking your inbox here soon, we will be having those throughout this grant period. And they're optional calls, but in case you have some questions or challenges throughout this process, there are solutions for those, and you can use those drop-in calls for those. The Zoom information will be coming again in your email sometime this week. And if those Zoom drop-in calls are not convenient for you, there's also one-on-one technical assistance. And for those, you can reach out to Matt Corser, and you can see here his phone number and email are provided for those. Next question, or next slide. Last is the work slippage form. So we recognize that there's a lot going on right now, and our Rise and Thrive facilitation team has a people first perspective. So we understand working from home and or working in different circumstances, if you will, during this pandemic leads to a lot of different things that can come up. And we acknowledge that, and we want to let you know that we have now on the Google Drive as well a work slippage form. So you can use this form to communicate your challenges to us and help us to understand where you're coming from so that we can work together to identify some collaborative solutions. To communicate those challenges again, if you want to go to the Google Drive, you can download that form, work slippage form. And if you have any questions on either how to fill that out or are not sure what to do, please feel free just to reach out to me on that. Next slide. Nicole mentioned our webinar series, and our next webinar is October the 13th from 1:30 to 3:30. Your attendance is required at that, and that topic is student mental health services. We'll be talking about accessibility, availability, awareness, and adaptability for that webinar series. And we will also post those upcoming webinars that we'll be having in November and December and January as well. If you would like to find our archived webinars, you can do so by accessing the Prevention Action Alliance's Rise and Thrive page. And there you can find the webinars we've had previously. Next slide. Also today, continuing education credit is available for OCPS and CHES certification. I will be following up by email on a few items that we talked about today, and one of those will be regarding CE credit. If you have any questions regarding that, again, you can respond back to me, but I will send that out to you. Sirens, sorry about that. Next slide. If you have questions specific to your grant regarding payment terms, conditions, and requirements, you can reach out to me. Nicole and I will be reaching out to you guys, each of the partnerships this week to talk about payment and terms and such. If you have questions though regarding grant deliverables, you can please reach out to either Matt Corser or Laura Ballas. And that said, you can always reach out to any one of us, and we are certainly happy to help direct you to who you need to work with. Next slide. Okay, so that is all for today. Thank you so much for your participation. We really appreciate your time today. We look forward to the next time we will connect, and I will be following up with an email. Thank you and have a great day.